See if it's recording or not. Is it recording? I'll stop recording. Hi. I want to share with you today a webinar that I watched, and the recording is on the National Autism Center at May Institute website, which I have right here pulled up on the screen. Now, the name of the webinar, let me pull this up again because I forgot already, but it was excellent. It was about eating. Okay, yes, it's on the Pathways for Parents webinar, and it was called Using Applied Behavior Analysis to Address Selective Eating for Autistic Children. Now, the information that was shared today is good also for other children or persons that may have difficulty exploring new foods or having what we call being a picky eater. Okay, so, but we're going to talk about this today specifically for autism, but remember, you can apply it to other situations. So I'm just going to review what they said on the webinar today. But remember, this all came from the May Institute, the National Autism Center at May Institute, a very good site to be able to get all kinds of information on autism. They have on this page here, you can see when you go to the National Autism Center at May Institute, you will be required to register in order to access the resources on there, but there's no fee to that, and it's just a simple thing. You'll probably get emails afterwards letting you know of different things that are coming on. But they have live webinars, on-demand webinars, which this one here that you can look for later on the eating and using ABA for eating. Will be posted probably in this next week. So you can find it here on the on-demand webinars. Then there's parent guidebooks, expert articles, national standards, and other services and so forth. But very good. So we'll be, you can look through that for other things that might interest you. But today, okay, so they're talking about the eating, and it's talking about when you have a child with autism or an adult with autism or another neurodiverse disability that may cause them to be very picky or selective in what they're eating. There are some things to consider. First of all, what are some reasons that we might not have a wide variety of food in our life or only eat certain things? You know, one thing is just sort of you get into this habit. You don't like to cook or you don't like certain things and you like other things. And these are all normal for everybody. But for children with autism, first of all, preference. They may simply not like certain foods and only like other foods. This is normal for a lot of people. Another reason they might refuse to eat certain foods is control. They want to control over their own lives. They want control over what they choose to eat. And we see this especially as they get into adults, where they, all adults, you hit those teenage years, you want to make choices on your own. You don't want to be told what to do. You want to be making choices on your own. So control is a big thing. If you just constantly set food down in front of them and say, this is what you're going to eat, they might rebel and not eat it at all because they want control. Another reason would be at one time they might have had a bad food. For example, the first time they ever had a grape, say the grape was really sour, and now every time they see grape, they are not going to try it again because their first experience with it was a bad one. Another reason might be that a child is sick or not feeling well. We all don't generally want to eat when we're sick or not feeling well. But also, there's the situation where a child may get sick at the time or shortly after eating a certain food group, and somehow they begin to associate that sickness with the food that they ate, and they refuse to eat that food. They could have also seen a TV show where somebody refused to eat a certain food or a certain food was made to sound really horrible. And they remember that. That's imprinted in their mind too. And they're never going to eat that food because of what they saw on TV. Another incidence too is choking. If a child chokes on a certain food, say a hot dog, they may never want to try that food again because they already had a bad experience with it and choking. And then lastly, there is the idea of having pressure or social demands placed on them during eating. Like you have to sit very still and you have to get in the lap, you have to use the fork, you have to not make any noise. And these social demands might just be too much for the child to deal with. So they don't want to deal with the eating at all. Okay, so those are some of the reasons. Now, what are some of the things that we can do to help our children to eat? Okay, or at least to try some different foods, expanding their diet. Okay, one thing is what they call antecedent prep. And this is preparing the meal time in the meal place to be a calm, safe space for eating, a positive tone to it. It could be a consistent meal time where the whole family is together, low stress, calm, positive tone, offer choices, and have it be a safe space to be able to try new foods without any kind of negative or punishment for not trying. Okay. The second thing would be motivation. The biggest motivation to eating is to be hungry. So try to avoid snacks before mealtime. They say generally like 2 hours before mealtime, cut off snacks so that they'll be hungry when it's time to eat. Avoid grazing. Grazing is where a child is eating a little bit here, a little bit there all day long, so that when it comes time for mealtime, they're not necessarily hungry because they've filled up all day. Try to avoid sugary drinks or milk right before a meal too, because those tend to fill you up and you don't have that sensation of being hungry. So you don't want to eat, and especially don't want to eat something new. Encourage exercise and playtime activity so that they develop an appetite and they're hungry. All right. Another thing you can do is get some baseline data. Write down for like 3 days in a row everything your child eats, everything they play with, what activities that they do. And in this way, you can get an idea of the types of food that they're eating. Maybe they all have the same texture. Maybe they all have the same color. Maybe they're all the same food, like they're all a noodle group or something. So you can determine the types of foods that they're only eating. Maybe you know that already, but having it written down is helpful because you can start seeing patterns. Notice the time of days that they're eating. So you can identify those hungry times or those times when they're most likely to be wanting to eat food so you can try something new. Identify their preferences like toys, snacks, and activities. You can use these as rewards for trying new foods. Also, introduce new foods similar to the liked foods in texture, taste, and brands. Sometimes kids only want a certain brand of food. They gave the example of kid will only eat Tyson chicken nuggets. Okay. So if they only eat Tyson chicken nuggets and they won't even try another brand, remember that because you might be able to introduce a new food made by the same company like Tyson, and they recognize the brand, so they might be a little more trusting to try that new food. Okay. All right. Slowly introduce new foods that are similar to the foods that they always eat. And this is what we do in school as well too. What we call strength-based goals. We build off of those strengths, the things that they're already capable of doing. We build up those in order to be able to introduce the new and bring up those weaker areas. Okay. So same with the food. Say they only eat Simon noodles. Okay. That's all they want to eat is Simon noodles. So maybe now you could offer a choice of a different type of noodle, okay, like elbow macaroni or spaghetti, something that's similar but different. So you're allowing them to expand their food groups through a little bit something different, but it's still going to be similar to what they are strongly eating, what they do like. Another example they gave is like a child who will only eat chips that are whole. He'll never eat a broken chip or smashed up chip. So you take a couple of chips out of the bag that are whole, crack off just a little corner of it, and let them try to eat that, and offer that to them and see if you can slowly help them to be able to eat foods that are a little bit different. Another example they gave is like a child will only eat the food out of the package. So in this case, they said, okay, take all the food out and put it on a plate, but then put a couple of those, let's say it's a chip again, inside the bag and give them the bag. And then they can eat that. And then maybe they will, then after eating that, they've got their appetite and they'll eat some of the chips that are on the plate. Okay. The next thing to do is to always praise them when they try something new. If they try that grape or try that banana or eat the broken chip, praise them for it and really make them feel good for doing that little bit. And that will encourage them to maybe do more. Offer choices between two acceptable and preferred items. Praise them even if they just taste a little bit of it. Don't add any pressure. Use positive behavioral support and try to establish trust. Okay. If they eat it, offer praise and reinforcement to what they've done. Okay. If they don't eat it, just remove it, but don't be negative about it. Don't scold them in any way. Just try it again later. You could do something like you give them a grape and a banana and say, would you like the grape or the banana? And you know they don't want either of them, but offer them the choice between the grape or the banana. And if they actually try, even just lick like the banana or the grape, praise that. Okay. You can also have a preferred item, for example, a chip, over on the side and say, would you like to eat the grape or the banana? And they say, I don't want either. I say, but you know what? If you eat one of them, then you can have the chip. And hopefully this will be an incentive for them to at least try it, at least lick it or taste it. And then, of course, you reward them and reward them with getting the chip. Okay. Never take a reward away that you have promised. Okay. You want to establish trust to help them to try new foods and find out that they actually like them. Okay. Start with small bites, like 1 or 2 bites, and then you can build upon that. Okay, so these were all just like home ideas that you can do with your child at home. If those don't work, they recommend some behavioral therapy like ABA therapy, speech therapy, occupational therapy. We're limited in some of those things that we have here on island. We do have some ABA. We do have a speech therapist at LBJ that comes, and she can also do swallow studies for. So those are some resources that we do have. And then one last thing is to involve your child in the food prep. This can make a big difference too. If you ask them, okay, what do we want to have for dinner tonight? Oh, you want to have Simon? Hey, that's a great idea. You know what? I've got a new noodle. Can we try that? Would you like to cook it with me? And then you help and we cook it, or maybe you do cook the noodles, and then you can say, you know what? I think it'd be really colorful if we added some of these vegetables. Which vegetables would you like to add to the noodles to make them colorful and pretty? And if they're involved in that, then they might actually be more likely to eat it because they help to make it and they're in control. Okay, so again, this is the website where you can get more information, the National Autism Center at May Institute. And fortunately, I can't see. Oh, here it is down here. So nationalautismcenter.org. Okay, is the name of this website. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed that today, and thank you for attending.